Whether you're new to being a landlord or a seasoned real estate investor in New Jersey, understanding the differences between pets, emotional support animals or ESAs, and service animals isn't just a matter of courtesy, it's critical for staying compliant and protecting your rental property. While these animals may seem similar at first glance, they're each treated very differently under the law, especially when it comes to housing rights and when you can impose restrictions. Hi, I'm Kevin Fletcher, broker of PMI Prime Property, a professional property management firm serving northern and central New Jersey in the areas of residential, commercial, and condo association management. In this video blog, we'll walk you through the legal distinctions for each of these animal classes, your obligations under the Fair Housing Act, FHA, and the Americans with Disabilities Act, and how to handle requests for assistance animals the right way. We'll also cover practical tools like pet screening services, tiered pet rent structures, and supplemental insurance that can help you reduce liability, document properly, and keep your rental investment protected. First, let's start with the easy one, pets. Pets are your standard household companions like dogs, cats, birds, or even reptiles. As a landlord, you're free to create your own pet policy, allow them, prohibit them, or set rules such as breed or size restrictions. You can also charge pet rent or pet fees, and here's where it gets strategic. By using a pet screening service, you can assign pets a risk score based on a variety of factors such as their breed, weight, age, and behavioral history. This allows you to then create a tiered pet rent structure where lower risk pets, like small older dogs for example, may result in a lower pet rent since they potentially create less wear and tear in the property. Whereas higher risk breeds, larger dogs or those prone to property damage, may incur higher monthly fees because the risk of property damage or increased wear and tear is more likely. A major advantage to these types of services is that they help ensure you're being fair, consistent, and everything is well documented. Ultimately, maximizing your income and minimizing your risk while staying compliant to fair housing laws. An important note for New Jersey landlords, though, is that while you can charge monthly pet rent for pets, New Jersey law caps security deposits at 1.5 times the monthly rent, regardless of whether a tenant has pets or not. Legally, you may not charge an extra pet deposit that exceeds this limit, as it violates the New Jersey Security Deposit Trust Act. Next, let's discuss emotional support animals or ESAs. These are animals prescribed by a licensed healthcare provider, most commonly a mental health professional, to help alleviate the symptoms of emotional or psychological conditions such as anxiety, post-traumatic stress syndrome or PTSD, and depression, for example. Under the Fair Housing Act, FHA, emotional support animals are not considered pets. You cannot charge a pet rent or pet fees for an emotional support animal, although as of the summer of 2025, we're starting to see some states contest this. You cannot deny housing based solely on the presence of an emotional support animal. You can request documentation from a licensed medical provider if the disability is not obvious, which it usually won't be. However, you may deny a request if the animal poses a direct threat, causes significant damage, or if the request lacks credible documentation. And this is where things get a bit tricky, as there are strict limitations on what can be asked about the person's medical history due to HIPAA regulations. And going too far with your questioning can actually get you into trouble. A pet screening service can also help verify emotional support animal documentation to ensure their authenticity and reduce your liability as a housing provider. They're usually well versed in the current online scams people use to get ESA letters. An important reminder though, for emotional support animals, they are not covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Their protections only come from the Fair Housing Act, and as a result, they're not always granted public access rights if they're not service animals by legal definition. And that brings us to the service animal category. These are highly trained dogs and occasionally miniature horses that perform specific tasks for individuals with disabilities, such as guiding the visually impaired, alerting to upcoming seizures or low blood sugar or possible fainting, or by providing physical support by assisting with daily life tasks that a person with mobility or paralysis may not be able to do on their own. These animals are protected by both the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, and the FHA, which means that you cannot charge pet-related fees, you cannot request documentation of the dog's training, and you cannot deny housing because of the animal. You can only ask two ADA compliant questions. First, is the animal required because of a disability? And two, what task or work has the animal been trained to perform? If the disability and function of the animal are obvious, like a seeing eye dog, for example, you really don't need to ask anything at all. Now let's recap how we can protect ourselves as a landlord to balance legal compliance with risk management. First, create a clear animal policy. Outline your rules for pets versus assistance animals. Clarify that emotional support animals and service animals are not pets and must be handled differently. This policy should include the criteria for how your pet fees are structured and what breeds or animals are not allowed. Also remember that your landlord insurance policy may have some restrictions already outlined as part of the policy terms. Secondly, use a pet screening service. These third-party platforms can help create a detailed pet profile that includes elements such as breed, weight, vaccination history, behavior history, etc. They also assess potential property risk based on predefined algorithms and assign a risk rating to that animal. They're very helpful for legal verification of emotional support animal and service animal requests, sometimes referred to as reasonable accommodation requests. And lastly, they help ensure fair housing compliance through consistent decision-making activities. Third, stay within New Jersey's security deposit limit as outlined in the New Jersey Security Deposit Trust Act. Remember that New Jersey only allows a maximum of 1.5 times monthly rent as a security deposit, no more. Doesn't matter if there's pets or not within the rental property. Fourth, require renters insurance. Request that tenants carry renters insurance with liability coverage, which is especially important for larger pets or emotional support animals, which may not be as well trained as service animals. And lastly, consider whether to obtain supplemental landlord insurance. Some carriers offer animal liability riders or coverage for pet-related damage. And instead of charging a pet fee or pet rent just for the presence of the animal, this may be an option to charge the tenant for the policy instead and ultimately end up with more protection in the event of any damage, but at a lower cost to the tenant, thus creating a win-win situation for both parties. Ultimately, you should speak to your insurance professional about coverage options. So here are some final thoughts. Understanding the differences between pets, emotional support animals, and service animals, and more importantly, the laws that protect them, isn't just a legal necessity, it's a smart business move. The wrong policy or fee could result in a very costly discrimination claim, while the right systems can help you protect your investment and stay compliant. If you're unsure how to handle an animal-related request, working with a professional property manager, such as PMI Prime Property, or a legal advisor for proper guidance, can help to reduce the stress of being a landlord. This is just one area that a professional property manager can be of tremendous value to you. If you need help managing your property, please schedule a free consultation with me today. At PMI Prime Property, we're opening doors to a better life.